What's up guys, Ken, and here on this episode we're talking about a Trek Fuel EX8 model. You've seen this one already a couple of days ago when I was comparing this one on my testing circuit, a testing track with a hardtail with my old school Cannondale Killer. But today I'd like to tell you just a couple of words about a suspension, a rear suspension of this bike, because it is quite outstanding. We've got a trail bike. This one is already a couple of years old. It has still 26-inch wheels and so on, and I must tell you, I wouldn't be buying 27.5 or 29 for such full suspension bike, because it's just enough, and it's still, let's say, just as light as it can get. So today, two systems. This one you can see here, full floater, and this one ABP, which is active braking pivot. Let's start with active braking pivot, because I think it is more important, at least in my riding experience. What this active braking pivot means. Pivot, that's the place where some parts of our suspension are moving to one another, between one another. Like we have here, let's call it chainstay and seat stay, and those two are moving while we are riding on our full suspension bike. Here are some pivots, as you can see as well, but active braking pivot is only the one in the rear. And actually, if you don't know what active braking pivot is, you might think that there is no pivot here in the rear, but there is. It looks like a simple through axle, but there is also some bearing here, and as you can see, the seat stay and chain stay are joined here, but are not welded. These are joined by this great design of a ABP pivot. Now, what does it mean for us? How does it work? Active braking pivot, right? So basically it means that this pivot will stay active while braking, right? So braking does not have a huge impact, I would say, on how the rear suspension works. Many riders experience that the suspension stiffens or firms up while we're braking. It's not such a big deal for the ABP system on the Trek bicycle. Why is it so? All right, we have a seat stay, we have a chain stay. All right, there is the axle of the wheel, and then we have a caliper brake here. The caliper brake is being assembled to the seat stay by means of those two bolts, right? And then there is one part that is movable. It's rotating. That's our rotor. That's the disc brake, right? This rotor is assembled with those 6 bolts to the hub, and then the hub is just a part of our wheel. And we can also say that the wheel is sort of assembled to the ground, right? So while we are riding and braking, the ground puts some forces on our wheel, and the wheel will also work with the disc, with the rotor on the caliper brake. And what forces work here on our suspension then? Let's just see. When the disc is rotating and I'm braking with this caliper brake, so I'm just closing the braking pads on the disc here, on the rotor will try to force to move my caliper to the front, let's say just to the front. So it will push against the seat stay, right? Now, in other rear suspension systems where we have the pivot just below the axle of the wheel or above the axle of the wheel, this pushing caliper to the front and bit maybe down as well through the seat stays will firm up the suspension, because the seat stay and the chain stay won't be able to move so freely to one another. So that's the problem with the normal suspension design. And this active braking pivot, it has a pivot right here, so there is still same force working on the seat stays through our rotor and the caliper brake, but it does not affect I would say it does not affect the suspension as much as on different systems. I wouldn't say that there is no impact or no connection between braking and how the suspension works. It does have some impact on the suspension, but it's really like minimum, and maybe most of the riders wouldn't even notice that while riding. So this is really clever stuff. I like it because it's simple. It's, you know, no rocket science, right? But it's something that Trek wasn't afraid to do. Just put the pivot where the axle of the wheel is, and that's it. So while braking, there is not so much impact on our suspension. The suspension still works. Now, to be completely honest also with you and with the system, is that while we are riding through some like super rough terrain, usually we do not brake, or we brake just a little bit. But sometimes we have to be on the brake, maybe in some, you know, dangerous situation, maybe, or just high speed situation, and then we are really glad that our rear suspension still works under braking. So that's active braking pivot. If you're riding these, all of Trek full suspension bikes have this, let us know. We'll be really happy to hear from you guys. And now the full floater. Now we have a trail bike. This is a trail bike, so it's kind of comfy. And what I like about full floater here is that it makes you feel that you have much more travel of your rear suspension that you really have. Why is it so? We have the damper here, the rear suspension here, which is not assembled to the frame actually. There is no joint between the damper and the frame. We have a front triangle here, and the damper is floating, connected through the links to the rear suspension. So while you are, while we're hitting some bumps, and the suspension works, as you can see on the video, also the damper will still float down, giving us impression that we have like lots and lots of travel. So that's really nice system. In many systems like my beloved Canada I used to have with the zero pivot system, the damper would be assembled to the top tube, and many full suspension bike have this, but this one is not assembled to the frame. So that's interesting. It's really worth it to remember those two things, like full floater and ABP active braking pivot made by Trek. I think it's a nice job. So this is for our comfort, this is for a great traction of your rear wheel, but those two systems don't have an impact on what's very important for me, which is on how much energy we waste through our full suspension bike while we are pedaling. So full floater doesn't help with that, and ABP doesn't help with that. Those two are, I would say, for more comfort, traction and fun on the bike. But this is not a cross-country full suspension bike. Just remember that those systems are not really made for saving your energy while pedaling, but made more for comfort. That's it for this review. If you'd like to share anything about these systems, let us know in the comment section. Thank you for watching and your support. Please give me some thumbs up if you like these topics. If you like some other playlists, don't be afraid to give me thumb down, and we'll choose some other topics for you just in the future, very near future, because I'm gonna meet you here very soon. Bye bye.